Hi, I've heard lots of people discussing whether they should buy a Panasonic GH2 or save some money and buy a G3. I can't decide for anyone, but I can try to point out what I find the main differences. The first is price, of course, but the most obvious after that is physical size, the G3 being considerably smaller. Image quality, for practical purposes, I find them pretty much the same, and in both cases better than I ever thought I'd see for a Micro Four Thirds. I'd put it about 1.5 stops behind the best APS-C sensors. With the 14 to 42 compact standard zoom on, you've seen that the GH2 is small. The G3 is, well, tiny. Hard to believe for a camera with an electronic viewfinder and a swivelling LCD screen. Question is, what are the penalties for the smaller size of the G3 or the gains for the larger bulk of the GH2? Here's a look at the comparative sizes. An immediate observation on handling both cameras is that the G3 feels more solid. It's got a higher quality feel than the GH2. I mean, that may be because the GH2 is all plastic, whereas the G3 has an aluminium frame, but the G3 just feels heavier and nicer somehow. I have fairly small hands, so either camera's comfortable for me. It would need someone with unusually large hands to find a problem with the G3 though. Personal preference? Coming from an SLR background, I prefer the GH2, it feels more serious. But coming from an Olympus Pen or Panasonic GF, I'd probably get on better with the G3. Make no mistake though, both cameras are small, but not pocketable. I used to have a GF1 Panasonic, and this or the new GFX with an electronic viewfinder fitted would be a similar size to the G3. GX1 or G3, you'd have to try them both. That really would be a matter of suck it and see. G3 is definitely baggable, more so than the GH2, and I love the way the LCD screen tucks away face in. Fit the lens cap, no worries about scratching in the bag, has always annoyed me with my GF1. I think for women it would fit quite comfortably in a handbag too. Now for the viewfinders. These are big and bright and detailed, and in no way inferior to their DSLR counterparts, in my opinion. The GH2 has the advantage here because it has double the refresh rate of the G3, and that means less shear or blurring of the viewfinder image if you move the camera fast. Do note that I'm talking about the viewfinder image, not the image on the sensor. So the GH2 has a sensor beside the viewfinder so that when you remove your eye from the finder, the image switches to the LCD screen on the back. That's brilliant. It can be a little oversensitive, so if you're working with the LCD, it switches back to the EVF when you accidentally pass a hand near the camera. You soon get to know what's happening and cope with it, but until you do, it's one of those what the moments. The G3 has a simple button beside the sensor and it toggles from one finder to the other. No sensor here. However, when you fold the rear screen face into the camera, the EVF automatically switches, so you can alternate between finders that way, folding and unfolding the rear screen. No question in my mind though that auto switching is better, and I do miss it when it's not there. Here's the top of the G3, uncomplicated, an on-off intelligent auto button and the mode dial with 6 options and 2 user setting positions. Actually, these user setting positions contain other user set modes within them. Personally, if I can't access a user personal setting with one action, I don't bother with it, but maybe I'm just lazy. Here, by contrast to the simplicity of the G3, is the top of the GH2, switches and buttons for everything. Around the mode dial, set standard shooting, sequence shooting, auto bracket and delayed actions. On the left, set manual constant or single autofocus with the lever, facial recognition, track focus, 23-point or single point focus. It all looks overwhelming, but actually it soon falls into place. This ability to go to a setting in a click or two is the main difference between the GH2 and the G3. The GH2 really is a photographer's camera. It works best for someone prepared to take the time to customize the camera to their requirements. An enthusiast, in other words. The G3 does most of what the GH2 does, but with less ease. After all, enthusiasts are more likely to want to customize because they know their requirements. More casual users want the same quality, but for them the GH2 could simply be unnecessarily complicated. A skilled photographer will get equally fine pictures from either camera. Right, to show you how the menu and the lever work together, I've set the delay here to 2 seconds. Now I'll go back to the menu and set the delay to 10 seconds. And now when I set the delayed action lever, it gives me a 10-second delay. Now we'll get to the limitations imposed by a smaller camera body, function buttons, or rather lack of them on the G3. Here I'm pressing the display button, which is also function button 1. It can't be both though. Here's the quick menu button reassigned to focus mode. The main penalty of the G3's small form is less opportunity to tailor the camera to your own way of working. Hit the quick menu button on the screen, however, and you can bring up 5 parameters for immediate access. But of course that's not all. Press the tool icon and you get to choose which 5 items are on the quick menu by simple dragging and dropping. GH2 also has a quick menu, but it's very different, operated by scrolling with the thumb wheel. What the GH2 has is this beauty, accessed on the display button, the info screen. Not only does it show you all the main operating parameters, but you can change and set them here too, and get a load of that crazy finger-operated exposure compensation dial. To show the versatility of the GH2, here are the 3 dedicated function buttons as I've set them up. Button 1, Guidelines. Button 2, Auto Bracket. And button 3, Focus Set. Of course, unlike with the G3, this still leaves all the maker's set buttons operational. Now for another aspect of size. Is the G3 awkward to handle when dwarfed by a large lens, as some micro four thirds cameras can be? Well, here's the Panasonic 1 to 300mm zoom, quite a big lens, and no, it looks fine on both of them. In fact, with that plain and purposeful exterior on the G3, I'm sure a lot of people would think it looks better on that. Whatever the looks, big or small lenses both balance nicely with both cameras, so any preferences in either direction would really be a matter of personal choice. I've looked at these cameras from the point of view of a stills man here, but most of the handling and menu observations would apply to movie or stills. The GH2 has extra goodies for the movie maker, the excellent 24p mode amongst them. But equally, I don't think many would find the G3 lacking movie ability. That kind of reflects my overall view of these cameras. To sum up, the photographic abilities of these cameras, in terms of quality, are closely matched, and what differences there are wouldn't bother most. If you must have the ultimate in quality, the GH2 has an edge. For me, in day-to-day photography, the difference is marginal. The most important differences between these cameras are external. The G3 comes in a very beguiling form. It's lissom and tactile and feels right the moment you pick it up. The price for that is that most operations are through the menu or quick menu system, and there's no denying that that is slower than the GH2. If you always shoot RAW files in aperture priority with 1-point focus and single shot, set the camera up for this and shoot away. For the odd times you want to change anything, the quick menu is more than adequate. The GH2 is more of a photographer's tool. You can use it like the G3 if you wish, but it would be a waste. The whole machine can be tailored and configured to your own specification. The new owner longed to get it set up how he liked it. Sell the GH2 and it would be a nightmare for the new owner to use until he or she had changed the configuration. For myself as an ex-professional, I'm willing to take the time and trouble necessary to make the best of the GH2, to make it my own. For me, it's worth every penny extra it costs to finish up with the tool I'm 100% comfortable to use. But, as I said before, if I couldn't afford the GH2, as American Express used not to say, G3, sir, that'll do nicely.
Oh, GH, you too?
Get a room, you two!